My best friend started dating the ultimate catch. When I saw her make it official on her social feed, I immediately commented, "Ask him if he has any brothers." She instantly sent me a photo of her new boyfriend and his friends. Every single one of them was gorgeous. She asked, "Which one do you want?" I picked the hottest one, who also happened to look like the biggest challenge. After chasing him for 6 months, I sent her a message, "I can't get him. Maybe I should just switch to someone else?" I tapped on the picture my best friend, Gina, had just posted, showing her snuggled up against Leo. She'd mentioned she was going to go after him 2 weeks ago, and I thought she was just talking big. I never expected her to actually pull it off. I immediately commented, "Ask him if he has any brothers." The second I posted it, my phone buzzed. It was a picture from Gina. I opened it up and saw a photo of her boyfriend with his friends. It's true what they say, the hot ones always stick together. She asked, "Which one do you want?" I stared at 2 completely different types of handsome, totally stumped. How could I choose? One had these sharp, almond-shaped eyes and a thin-lipped smirk for the camera. He looked like a total player. Hot, but he screamed trouble. The other guy had a chiseled jaw and his lips were pressed into a firm, cool line. His gaze was sharp as it cut to the camera. Totally my type, but he also looked like he'd be impossible to win over. Whatever. Who cares if he's hard to get? I'll give it a shot and see what happens. I circled the second guy and sent the picture back to Gina. "I want this one." A few minutes later, she sent me his info. Jake, 6 feet 2 inches, 172 pounds, a student at the military academy next door. Oh, crap. My weight is almost the same as his. That night, she set up a get-together for us. I stared at my pudgy stomach in the mirror and sighed. It's no surprise Gina could land a guy like Leo, she's basically campus royalty. And me? If I suck in my gut, I can just barely squeeze into a size L dress. Could I really get his friend? I had my doubts. My phone rang. It was Gina. "Sophie, make sure you dress up." "Gina, maybe we should just forget it," I said, my confidence wavering. Leo was one of the most famous rich kids at our school. His friends had to be in the same league. "Sophie Darcy. This is your chance. Don't you dare chicken out on me. Just think about that face, and his money. Landing him would be like winning the lottery." Fine. I was all in. I put on a little black dress, slipped into a pair of heels I never wore, and headed out. Gina had picked a rooftop bar. When she saw me, she waved with a huge smile. "Sophie, over here." I sat down next to Gina, who was beside Leo. As I settled in, I saw Jake sitting right across from me. He was distractingly handsome. I'd never seen a guy look that good with a buzz cut. He was wearing a simple white button-down, but on him, it gave off this untouchable vibe. I took a sip of water, trying to calm the frantic beating in my chest. "This is my best friend, Sophie," Gina announced. "And this is Jake, Leo's friend," she added, giving me a pointed wink. I smiled and said hello. He smiled back. "Hey, Gina, how come you only introduced him and not me?" A male voice complained. I looked up and saw the other guy from the photo. All I can say is, this night was a blessing for my eyes. Things were looking up. "Hi. I'm Ryan," he said, raising an eyebrow at me. "Hi, I'm Sophie." The table started a game of truth or dare. When the bottle stopped, pointing directly at me, Gina shot me a look. "Dare," I said. Gina's eyes lit up. "Pick a guy here and make eye contact with him for 30 seconds. It was no contest. I chose Jake. Staring into his deep eyes, my heart started hammering against my ribs uncontrollably. "Oh my God, calm down. He's going to hear you." When the bottle landed on me again, I glanced at the person who spun it. "Seriously? Could you be any more obvious?" I chose dare again. Ask a guy here for his number. If you get rejected, you have to take 3 shots, Gina said, loving the drama. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. I looked at Jake and asked, "Hi, can I get your number?" He seemed to catch on to what we were doing, and a slight frown crossed his face. Just as the atmosphere was getting awkward, Leo, under pressure from Gina, spoke up. "Jake, it's just a number. The lady's not even shy, what are you getting so worked up about?" In the end, I got his number. From then on, I'd text Jake whenever I had a spare moment. Most of the time, he'd leave me on read. When he did reply, it was just a few short words. Gina told me that wasn't going to cut it. I had to ask him out. Physical contact is what creates sparks. I knew she was right, but when I looked at my round figure in the mirror, I made a decision. I had to lose weight. I bought a gym membership that very day, determined to get down to 110 pounds. That meant I had to lose over 30 pounds of fat. Dear God. For someone who loves hot pot, barbecue, and snacks, this was going to be torture. But maybe it was the magic of love. Whenever I was sweating on the treadmill, I'd think of Jake's handsome face, and suddenly my legs felt stronger. So, of course, the one time I ran into Jake at the gym, I was wearing a drab gray sweatsuit with no makeup on. I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. He looked surprised to see me, too. I forced a smile and managed a weak, "Hey." He seemed amused by my awkward expression. "Didn't you say you were studying at the library?" I remembered the text I'd sent him half an hour ago, and my face flushed hot. I hadn't told him I was trying to lose weight because I wanted to have a secret glow up and surprise everyone. Who knew I'd run into him here? I scratched my head, trying to come up with an excuse. Studying is just so stressful. I came for a run to clear my head. So embarrassing. He didn't say anything else. He just took off his jacket and started pumping iron. I watched the clean lines of his muscles, then silently cranked up the speed on my treadmill. Over the next month, I ran into Jake at the gym all the time, which became my main motivation for going. We went from being strangers to occasionally cracking a joke. My weight dropped from 140 pounds to 130, and my dress size went from L to M. The next time Gina saw me, she grabbed my hands and spun me around. "Sophie, you've lost so much weight." I had to. I haven't touched hot pot or barbecue in a month for Jake. That's some serious dedication, she said, giving me a thumbs up. While we were out shopping, Gina picked out an off-the-shoulder blue dress for me, a color and style I'd never tried before. When I came out of the fitting room, Gina's jaw dropped. "It's gorgeous. Sophie, that dress was made for you." I looked at myself in the mirror. I was still a little chubby, but I had to admit, I looked good. That night, I was lying in bed texting Jake. I sent a few messages, but he didn't reply. That was weird. After weeks of my relentless pestering, he usually replied, sometimes even with a joke. A moment later, Gina called. "Sophie, you need to get over here. It's an emergency." "What's wrong?" "Your rival has appeared." Alarm bells went off in my head. I shot out of bed, threw on the new dress I'd bought today, and rushed over. When Jake saw me, he looked a little surprised. My eyes scanned the girl next to him. She was dressed head to toe in designer clothes, her hair perfectly styled. Every inch of her screamed polished. "Hi. I'm Rebecca." I was a high school classmate of Jake's. I put on a smile and mimicked her delicate tone. "Hi. I'm Sophie. I'm Jake's gym buddy." Jake looked at me in disbelief, his eyes wide as saucers. I gave him a coy little wink, and he was so startled he quickly took a sip of his drink. I heard Gina stifle a laugh. Across from us, Rebecca did not look pleased. I started pursuing Jake even more aggressively. Whenever I had free time, I'd go to his school to watch him train. All his classmates got to know me. Whenever I showed up, they'd start teasing him. Jake, your girlfriend's here to watch you train again. We're so jealous. Jake would just sigh and say, she's not my girlfriend. The days passed, and before I knew it, fall arrived. My relationship with Jake was still going nowhere. I complained to Gina that Jake was a tough nut to crack. But there was one silver lining to chasing him. I was getting closer and closer to my goal weight. On Jake's birthday, I went to his house with the watch I'd carefully picked out for him. He took the gift from my hands and said quietly, "Thank you." Ryan popped up out of nowhere. "Sophie, you've changed so much." "How much?" "So much that I'm about to fall for you. Why don't you give up on Jake and consider me instead?" He was being dramatic, but it made me laugh. "Ryan, let's play pool," Jake said, his tone a little cold. I watched Jake lean over the pool table, and damn, he was magnetic. If he looked that sexy just leaning over a table, I could only imagine what he'd be like leaning over me. "Hey! Wipe your drool. It's getting on the floor." Gina tapped me on the shoulder. "All I can do is drool," I sighed. I've been chasing him for 3 months and gotten nowhere. I'll probably never get him at this rate. You've been after him this long and he hasn't given you any kind of sign? I shook my head and sighed again. "Jake, do you actually like Sophie or not?" I was coming out of the bathroom when I heard Ryan's voice, and I froze. "I don't know." "What do you mean, you don't know? Do you get that, like, butterflies in your stomach feeling when you see her?" "No." My nails dug into my palms. I let out a bitter laugh at myself. In the adult world, no response is a rejection. Why couldn't you just get the hint? I hadn't seen Jake in a week. After hearing him say those 2 words, I finally woke up. If someone doesn't like you, it doesn't matter how hard you try. I looked in the mirror at my bedhead and the dark circles under my eyes. I looked terrifying. I took a shower and sent Gina a text, half joking, "I can't get him. Maybe I should just switch to someone else." Less than 2 seconds later, a video call from her came through. "Sophie, what's going on?" "I can't get him, so I'm done trying." "You're really giving up? Should I set you up with someone else? Is he hotter than Jake? Your standards are pretty high. Let me see what I can find." After a week of wallowing, I ran into Jake at the gym, and it was a little awkward. "Hey. Long time no see. Have you been busy lately?" he asked. "Not really. I've been rotting in my dorm for 2 days. My bones felt like they were turning to jelly." "Then why haven't you been texting me?" I thought about it and decided it was better to be direct. "Look. Jake, I'm not going to chase you anymore. I get the feeling you don't like me, so I won't bother you from now on." Jake looked at me, then muttered, "Suit yourself." He turned and walked away, his face dark. Well, that was rude. He gives me the cold shoulder just because I stopped chasing him. So emotionally unstable. Another month went by. I could finally fit into a size S, and I even had a few guys asking me out. But I discovered a serious problem. After Jake, no one else even compared. Damn. Going after a hot guy really does come at a cost. He completely raised my standards. The next time I saw Jake was at Gina's birthday party. I watched the 2 of them cutting the cake together, a beautiful couple. What a sight. Jealous? Ryan plopped down next to me and poked my arm. "Are you really done chasing Jake?" He'd hit a nerve. "What's it to you?" I snapped. "Why don't you chase me instead? I'm way easier than Jake." "Get lost." "I'm serious. Think about it." He was getting on my nerves, so I went out to the balcony for some fresh air. I didn't expect to find Jake there, smoking. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smoke. The watch I gave him was on the same hand holding the cigarette. Seeing that watch made my heart ache. That was half a month's living expenses for me. "Can I get my money back?" Bad mood? I tried to start a conversation. He glanced back at me but didn't answer. Fine. Keep it. I don't want it anyway. Not wanting to make a fool of myself, I leaned on the railing and looked out at the city lights. Sophie. Come get some cake. Coming. I called back, heading inside. Gina leaned in and whispered, Are you sure you're done? Want me to help? Do I look like the type to drag things out? Well, then how about Ryan? He's not that far behind Jake in the looks department. Are you serious? I chase Jake and then move on to Ryan? What kind of person would that make me? So what's the plan? Weren't we supposed to marry into wealthy families together? We still are. You go first. Then you can have a son, and we can be in-laws. With our friendship, we'd never have mother-in-law drama. We both burst out laughing. Suddenly, I noticed Jake sitting in a corner, staring at me coldly. A shiver ran down my spine. Dude, I just stopped chasing you. You don't have to look at me like that. I was waiting for a taxi on the side of the road when a car screeched to a halt in front of me, making me jump. Jake rolled down the back window. Get in. As if I'm just going to jump when you say so. That would be so lame. No way. Jake opened the car door, got out, and pulled me in. Jake, what are you doing? Taking you back to school. Who asked you to? Then get out, Jake told the driver to stop. Are you insane? I get in when you say, I get out when you say? Who do you think you are? I'm not getting out. Seeing me act like a brat, Jake let out an exasperated laugh. What's so funny? I'm laughing at myself for even arguing with you. Huh? The next morning, I saw Jake sitting next to me in class. What are you doing here? He handed me the donuts and coffee he was holding. For you. Don't you hate the smell of fried food? You said it was disgustingly greasy. I bought it for you. I'm not eating it. I opened the bag and started eating happily. Thanks. How did you know I love donuts and coffee? I used to see you eating it every day. How could I not know? He turned his head away. Seeing him act all awkward, I thought he was kind of cute. A mischievous idea popped into my head. I held the half-eaten donut up to his lips. Want a bite? It's really good. He hesitated for a second, then opened his mouth and took a bite. I stared at him in shock. You actually ate it? I thought you hated the taste. I'd never tried it before. I just did. It's not bad. Jake started showing up around me all the time, becoming a constant presence in my life. My roommate came up to me, full of gossip. Sophie, who's that hot guy who's always on campus? Is he your boyfriend? I knew she meant Jake, but I didn't know how to answer. Things between Jake and me had become ambiguous. We felt like friends, but more intimate than friends. I couldn't call him my boyfriend. We hadn't made it official. Sophie, what are you thinking about? Nothing. I'm heading to the library. The moment I stepped out of the dorm, I saw Jake standing by the entrance. He seemed oblivious to his own good looks, ignoring the curious stares from everyone around. When he saw me, he smiled and walked over. You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll take you for Chinese. I got in the car with him. I looked at the handsome face beside me, and my roommate's question echoed in my head. Whatever, I thought. It's not like I'm the one getting the short end of the stick here. I sat next to Jake at the restaurant, watching him carefully pick the bones out of the fish for me. He placed the fillet in my bowl. Eat up. I just looked at him without saying a word. Why are you staring at me? Eat. Do you want me to feed you? Ah. I opened my mouth, waiting for him. He laughed, picked up the fish with his chopsticks, and placed it in my mouth. Jake. He asked, looking at me quizzically. I like you. I swallowed the words that were on the tip of my tongue and smiled instead. Nothing, you have a really nice smile. After lunch, he took me hiking. Halfway up the mountain, I couldn't go any farther. I'm done. I decided to be shameless, plopping down on the steps and refusing to move. Come on, I'll carry you. He crouched in front of me, and I didn't hesitate to climb onto his back. Thank God I lost weight, I thought. Otherwise, you'd be exhausted. He carried me all the way to the summit, beads of sweat dripping down his forehead. I took out a tissue and gently wiped his brow. He suddenly wrapped his arm around me, pulling me closer into his chest. He leaned down and pressed his lips to mine. His mouth was so soft. I moved my lips, kissing him back. He cupped the back of my head, his warm breath on my face. I felt like I was floating. We fell into this undefined situationship. He never clarified things, and I just played along. Gina's jaw dropped when Jake and I walked in holding hands. As soon as Jake went to play pool, she pulled me aside. Are you two together? No. No? Then what is this? Playing house, holding hands? I don't know. We haven't defined the relationship, but he kissed me. Did you initiate it? I shook my head. Gina tapped me on the forehead. Sophie, are you an idiot? Why are you kissing him if you're not official? What if he's just playing you? So what if he is? It's not like I'm losing out. She was speechless for a moment, then pinched my arm hard. I yelped. I'm warning you, don't get your feelings tangled up in this. I know. I've got it under control. I walked over to Jake. He held his pool cue in one hand and used the other to pull me into his arms. Want to learn? I nodded. He stood behind me, bent over, and put the cue in my hands. I gripped the cue, and he covered my hands with his. One shot, and the ball went in. I turned to him excitedly, and he leaned down and gave me a quick peck on the lips. I froze. He leaned in and whispered in my ear, "That's your reward. You flirt." Ryan threw his cue on the table. I can't watch this. You two have fun. Jake taught me how to play, and I picked it up quickly. After I sank a ball on my own, I jumped for joy. I wrapped my arms around his neck, gave him a kiss, and said, "That's your reward." He looked down. Not enough. With that, he leaned in and pressed his lips against mine. I flicked my tongue against his, and his body went rigid before he pulled away. Was that enough? I grinned at him. He pulled me into his arms and gave my ear a playful, punishing little bite. I curled up in his embrace, giggling. Before winter break, I went to Jake's school to find him and ran into Rebecca. She didn't seem surprised to see me. Here to see Jake? She asked with a smile. What are you doing here? The same thing you are. I'm here to see Jake. You are? What? You can see him, but I can't. What exactly is your relationship with him? She was right. What was our relationship? In that moment, I couldn't answer. On the train home, my mind kept replaying that question, what is our relationship? I finally understood why people say a relationship has to start with a bouquet of flowers and a proper confession. Because when things start unclearly, they end messily. When I got home, my parents were shocked at how much weight I'd lost. My mom grabbed my hands, her eyes welling up with tears. How did you get so thin? Are you sick? I threw myself into my mom's arms and started crying, too. What's wrong? Did someone hurt you? I shook my head. I just missed you guys. I opened my phone and saw a bunch of missed calls and texts from Jake. Where are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? Where the hell did you go? I typed out a short message and hit send. Jake, let's end this here. Jake called again immediately. I was afraid I'd cave, so I didn't answer. After 2 days of lying around at home, my dad was cooking up a storm for me, but I had no appetite. After dinner, I went downstairs for a walk and was shocked to see Jake standing in front of my building. I quickly pulled up the hood of my pajamas and turned to leave. Sophie. You take one more step. I turned around. What are you doing here? Why did you break up with me? Break up? When were we ever together? Jake looked like he was about to explode. He threw me over his shoulder, carried me to his car, and shoved me inside. I scrambled back in fear until my back hit the door, with nowhere left to go. What are you doing? What am I doing? Sophie, sometimes I just want to wring your neck. He leaned over me, and I panicked, pushing against his chest and babbling, Jake, you bastard. Don't you dare try anything. Murder is illegal. If you come any closer, I'll call the cops. He let out a low chuckle. I opened my eyes and saw the look on his face. He was just trying to scare me. Jake. Was that fun? As I said it, tears started streaming down my face. He sighed, lifted me up, and sat me on his lap, gently wiping away my tears. Don't cry. You look ugly. It's not for you to look at. Then who is it for? He asked, cupping my face in his hands and kissing me softly. Staring at his handsome face so close to mine, most of my anger melted away. It's true what they say, it's impossible to stay mad at a hot guy. Babe, why are you so angry? I wanted to scream. He called me babe. It sounded so good. I had to think of the saddest things I could imagine just to keep myself from smiling. I'm not angry. What right do I have to be angry? I'm not your girlfriend. Jake looked at me and asked with a smile, is that what this is all about? He was still smiling. I stood up and reached for the car door. Jake pulled me back into his arms, his hands holding my waist firmly. Sophie, be my girlfriend. I kept up my stubborn act. No flowers. I'm not saying yes. I'll have a truckload delivered tomorrow. I rolled my eyes at him. Do you even know what romance is? Jake looked at me puffing out my cheeks, a thoughtful expression on his face. The next morning, I was brushing my teeth when I heard my mom gossiping. I don't know who that silly boy downstairs is, but he's been standing there holding a bouquet of flowers for ages. He's pretty handsome, though. I ran to the window and saw Jake standing there, holding flowers. I tossed my toothbrush into its cup. I clattered downstairs in my slippers, foam still clinging to the corner of my mouth. When Jake saw me, he walked over, got down on one knee like in a rom-com, and held the flowers out to me. Sophie, please be my girlfriend. Looking at his ridiculous pose, I was touched and amused at the same time. When I didn't react, he tugged on my sleeve. Beg me. If you beg me, I'll say yes. I'm begging you, he murmured. All right, fine. I'll begrudgingly accept. You may rise. I took the flowers and pretended to help him up. He stood and pulled me into his arms, wiping the toothpaste foam from my mouth. How dare you look down on me? I hooked my arms around his neck and gave him a loud smooch on the cheek. You're branded. You're mine now. We've kissed 100 times. You could still run if you wanted to. I laughed, totally unrepentant. Well, that's because you didn't make a proper move in the first place. You didn't confess when you were chasing me, either. You didn't even like me. Why would I confess? Who said I didn't like you? You did. You said you didn't get butterflies when you saw me. Jake looked at me, exasperated. So that's why you gave up? Yeah. I've always known when to quit. I've never liked anyone before. How was I supposed to know what it felt like? So you know now? He nodded. I asked, what does it feel like? Like I want to kiss you the second I see you. So you don't feel anything for me right now? I moved closer. I saw his Adam's apple bob, and then he was cupping my head and kissing me. The moment I walked into the house, my mom's gossipy gaze scanned me up and down. My scalp tingled. Mom, why are you looking at me like that? That's my girl. You've got good taste. You saw everything? My mom nodded. I wanted to die. My mom saw me making out with my boyfriend. It was social suicide. Don't be so embarrassed. Your mom's not some old prude. But remember to use protection before you're married. I'm not ready to be a grandma just yet. Mom, can you please stop? You're not embarrassed, but I am. Lying in bed, I called Gina to give her the update. You actually landed him? I did. He proposed on one knee. Gina's voice was filled with disbelief. Why would I lie to you? It's not like I get a prize for it. I never would have guessed he was so reserved on the outside but so intense underneath, she said. She paused, then asked with a wicked laugh, so, how far have you two gone? Slept together yet? Her bold question made my face heat up. I'm sleeping at home. How could we? You haven't yet? She sounded disappointed, then added, still, Jake's a military academy guy. He looks like he'd be capable. Ugh, Gina. You're so dirty-minded. I buried my head under the covers. But an image of his toned muscles at the gym flashed through my mind. After a month apart, I was finally going to see my boyfriend. I was getting a little excited just thinking about it. Gina's words from our call last night popped into my head, a long-awaited reunion, sparks are gonna fly. Watch out for your back, girl. Jake was waiting for me downstairs, his arms open. I dropped my suitcase and ran into his embrace. I buried my head in his chest. Jake, did you miss me? He tightened his arms around me, showering my face with kisses before finally capturing my lips. Back in the city, he took me out to dinner and a New Year's movie, then drove me to my dorm. I unbuckled my seatbelt, climbed over the console into the driver's seat, and straddled his lap, clinging to him. His nose brushed against mine. I cupped his face and kissed him again and again. He held the back of my head, kissing me until I was breathless. After a long moment, he pulled away. I saw the fire in his eyes and said boldly, "Let's go back to your place." His eyes darkened. He lifted me back into the passenger seat and buckled my seatbelt, all in one smooth motion. I sat on the sofa in Jake's apartment, listening to the sound of the shower, and buried my face in a throw pillow. What am I doing? What am I doing? Now that things were getting real, my courage was failing me. Jake came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his waist. I stared at his bare chest, watching a drop of water trail down his abs. My face felt hot. I swallowed hard. I'm going to take a shower. It wasn't until I was in the bathroom that I realized I didn't have a change of clothes. I went back out. Jake, can I borrow some pajamas? He went into his room and handed me a set of pajamas. After my shower, I shuffled out hesitantly. Jake was still shirtless, lounging on the couch in his towel, scrolling on his phone. When he saw me, he beckoned. Come here. I slowly made my way over and sat down carefully beside him. Why aren't you dressed? My clothes are on you. He hooked an arm around me, and I tumbled into his lap. He looked at me like he wanted to eat me alive. Do you only own one set of pajamas? I asked, a little scared. He chuckled. Where's all that confidence you had when you were seducing me in the car? Who was seducing you? I just didn't want to leave you. And now? Do you want to leave now? He took my hand and placed it on his abs. My eyes widened. Was he testing me like this? My hand traced the muscles of his stomach. They felt so good. Having a boyfriend like this would make it all worth it, even if I died. Done touching? My turn. He pushed me down onto the sofa. His fingers slipped under the hem of my shirt, tracing a path up my waist. I clung nervously to his shoulders as he lowered his head, his kisses peppering my neck. Jake. He propped himself up, looking down at me, his eyes burning with unconcealed desire. I hesitated for a second. I hear military guys are pretty intense. Be gentle, okay? He let out a soft laugh at that. Babe, who told you that? I didn't dare say it was Gina. Two girls discussing stuff like that. So shameless. He kissed me. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. His hot kisses covered my body, and I let out a soft moan. He lifted my legs to hook around his waist, and then a sharp pain shot from the base of my spine through my entire body. I cried out, gripping his arms as beads of sweat formed on my forehead. I was finally learning what military academy stamina meant. He cooed sweet nothings in my ear, but the force of his movements never lessened. By the end, I felt like I was going to die. Jake, I'm never trusting you again. I don't know how it ended, but when I woke up, it was the next afternoon. I rubbed my aching back and looked at Jake lying beside me, a satisfied smile on his face. I kicked him. He wrapped his arms around me and pulled me close, kissing my forehead. Babe, I love you so much. Love my ass. I almost died. Ever since we'd crossed that line, Jake was relentless. I was afraid if this kept up, I'd literally die in his bed. I have to go back to school for class. I'll drive you. After he parked, he grabbed my hand. I'll pick you up this afternoon. No, don't. I said quickly. Seeing his frown, I explained, it's too much trouble going back and forth. I'll just stay in my dorm. No. You're staying with me. He turned his head away stubbornly. Then you have to promise not to go on and on all night. When have I ever gone on and on? At least 3 times a night isn't going on and on. Anyway, when I say no, you have to stop. Otherwise, I'm staying in the dorm. He turned back, looking wounded. You're threatening me. I've already been holding back. I cupped his pouty face and gave him a kiss. He finally smiled. I'll pick you up this afternoon. After class, Gina called me, sobbing into the phone. She sounded drunk. When I got there, Gina was already wasted, surrounded by a group of handsome guys in low-cut shirts. She saw me and threw her arms around me, slurring, Sophie, you're all I have left. Why are you so drunk? Where's Leo? Don't talk to me about that bastard. We're over. What happened? His first love came back to the country. What? That son of a bitch. I'm gonna go give him a piece of my mind. Gina grabbed me. Don't. He's just a man. There are plenty more out there. Come on, pour me a drink. The guys started crowding around us. I'd never been in a situation like this, and I instinctively backed away. Before the glass could touch my lips, 2 male voices boomed from the doorway. Gina. Sophie. I looked up to see Leo and Jake standing there, their faces black with anger. When Gina saw Leo, she put her hands on her hips and yelled, "What are you doing here? Let me tell you something, I broke up with you. I don't want you anymore. Get lost." Watching Leo's face get darker and darker, I broke out in a cold sweat for Gina. Leo started walking toward us. I stepped in front of Gina. What do you think you're doing? Your first love is back, isn't she? What do you want with Gina? Get out of the way. I won't. As long as I'm here, no one is taking Gina anywhere. Jake walked up to me, scooped me up, and started carrying me out. I struggled, shouting, Jake, you're aiding and abetting a tyrant. Put me down. Leo doesn't have a first love. I grew up with him. He's never dated anyone besides Gina. Huh? I was completely lost. So just stop adding to the chaos. I hooked my arms around his neck, asking curiously, what about you? Have you ever dated anyone? I'm dating someone right now, aren't I? I mean before me. No. What about Rebecca? I've barely even spoken to her. He put me in the car, bracing his hands on either side of my head. Babe, let's get married. What? We haven't even graduated yet. Besides, I was in the prime of my life. Why would I get married so young? We're about to graduate. I scratched my head, desperately trying to think of an excuse. He leaned down and kissed me. It was different from his usual gentle kisses. This time, it was urgent and fierce, as if he wanted to absorb me into his body. I could barely breathe. I tapped on his chest. He pulled back, looking at me with pleading eyes. Babe, marry me. I was about to refuse, but he pressed down again. After a long moment, he let me go. Babe, marry me. Was this his master plan? Was he going to kiss me to death if I didn't agree? He saw I wasn't answering and was about to kiss me again when I blurted out, "What's in it for me if I marry you?" He pulled 2 bank cards, 2 property deeds, and a stock agreement from the glove compartment and placed them in my hands. Say yes. And all of this is yours. Trying to buy me? What's the pin for the cards? Your birthday. With that, he slid a ring onto my finger, raised my hand to his lips, and kissed it. I have one condition. I accept. His grin was stretching from ear to ear. I suspect that if I had asked for his life right then, he would have smilingly agreed. I haven't even said what it is yet. Go on. I'm listening. Can our new house be across the street from Gina and Leo's? I want to live next to her. Done. We'll go buy it right now. 1 year later. Gina and I stood side by side in our wedding dresses, holding hands as we got married. We looked at the 2 men standing together across from us. Gina and I glanced at each other and smiled. We'd finally married into our wealthy families.